Welcome back. You are listening to the home of forbidden romances. Prepare yourself, because tonight's story will leave you breathless. The gun on the mahogany desk wasn't what terrified me. It was the man sitting behind it, looking at me with eyes devoid of the soul I once worshipped. "Strip," Cashin murmured, his voice a low vibration that rattled the bones of my ribcage. He didn't shout. He didn't need to. In the 3 years since he had vanished from my life, leaving only a cold letter and a shattered apartment, Cashin had transformed from a struggling law student into the devil of Wall Street, a man who swallowed companies for sport. I stood frozen in the center of his penthouse office, rain dripping from my cheap coat onto his pristine marble floor. I was here to beg for my father's life, for the debt that was about to bury my family, and the man holding the shovel was the only person I had ever loved. He took a sip of whiskey, his gaze indifferent, sliding over me like I was nothing more than a stain on his architecture. But he was lying. I knew he was lying because, hovering right above his impeccably styled jet black hair, a neon blue text box floated in the air, a glitch in reality that only I could see since the accident last month. I blinked, rain water stinging my eyes. The text vanished, replaced by a stream of others rolling by like a live chat on a stream. Cashin set the glass down. The sound was a sharp clack in the cavernous room. "I don't have all night, Julian. You came here asking for $5 million to save your father's failing firm. I told you my price. Your dignity." His face was a mask of sculpted ice. High cheekbones, a jawline sharp enough to cut, and eyes like frozen obsidian. There was no warmth, no recognition of the nights we used to spend tangled in sheets, whispering promises against the noise of the city. There was only the predator and the prey. "Why are you doing this?" I whispered, my hands trembling as I reached for the first button of my shirt. "You know me. You know who I am. I know a desperate man when I see one," Cashin drawled, leaning back in his leather chair. He looked bored. I paused. The disconnect between the man in front of me and the floating text was jarring. If the hallucinations, or whatever this system was, were true, Cashin wasn't trying to humiliate me. He was putting on a performance. But for whom? I glanced around the room. It was empty, safe for us. But then I remembered the cameras. The black domes in the corners of the ceiling. The board. The mysterious consortium of elders who controlled the Blackwood conglomerate. I undid the first button. Cashin's eyes narrowed imperceptibly. I undid the second button, exposing my collarbones. The air conditioning in the room felt sub-zero. Cashin stood up abruptly, the leather of his chair groaning. He turned his back to me, facing the floor-to-ceiling window that overlooked the rain-slicked city of New York. "Stop," he commanded, his voice rougher than before. "You're pathetic. Seeing you like this. It ruins my appetite." He was cruel. He was vicious. But the air above his head was hysterical. Put your clothes back on," Cashin said to the window reflection. "I'll sign the check. Consider it charity for a beggar I used to know." I buttoned my shirt, a strange mix of relief and fury bubbling in my chest. He was saving me, yes. But he was still pushing me away. He was still treating me like a stranger. The comment about the board. If that was true, Cashin was trapped. And being the stubborn, self-sacrificing idiot I remembered, he had decided to bear that trap alone. I wasn't the same soft art student he had left 3 years ago. I had been hardened by poverty, by loss, and by the cynical reality of this city. And now, I had a weapon he didn't know about. I had the audience. I walked up to the desk, placing my hands flat on the polished wood. "Thank you for the charity, Mr. Blackwood." He turned halfway, his profile sharp in the dim light. "Get out." "I will," I said, my voice steady. "But since I'm now indebted to you, perhaps I should work it off. Your assistant resigned this morning, didn't she?" Cashin froze. He turned fully, his eyes widening a fraction. "How do you know that?" He hadn't announced it yet. "I only knew because a comment 5 minutes ago mentioned, I hear things." I lied smoothly. "I need a job. You need someone competent who you don't have to train. You own my debt, Cashin. You own me. Why not make use of your property?" I used the words I knew would trigger him. I saw his pupils dilate. No, Cashin said, his voice straining. "It's out of the question. Then I'll go to your competitor, VexCorp. I bluffed. They're looking for inside information on the Blackwood merger. I'm sure my history with you would make me a valuable asset to them. Cashin moved so fast I barely saw it. One moment he was by the window, the next he was across the desk, grabbing my wrist. His grip was bruising, his temperature scorching hot against my cold skin. You will not go near Vex Corp, he hissed, his face inches from mine. I could smell the expensive scotch and the underlying scent of sandalwood that I used to fall asleep to. They will chew you up and spit you out. Then keep me here, I challenged, staring straight into his dark eyes. Keep me where you can see me. Unless you're afraid. Cashin stared at me, a war raging behind his stoic mask. He was calculating the risks. He was terrifyingly intelligent, a grandmaster of corporate chess, but he had a fatal weakness. Me. Fine, he snarled, releasing my wrist as if it burned him. You start tomorrow. 6 a.m. But don't think this means anything, Julian. You are an employee. Nothing more. If you step out of line, I will destroy you. I look forward to it, sir, I whispered. As I turned to leave, the floating text above him exploded in a flurry of pink and red hearts. **, 3 weeks. That was how long it took for me to realize that being Cashin Blackwood's personal assistant was a form of psychological torture designed by a sadist. He worked me to the bone. Coffee runs at 4 a.m., filing reports that required high-level clearance, organizing galas for people who looked at me like I was the help. He spoke to me only in commands. He never looked me in the eye for longer than a second. To the outside world, he was the tyrant king, and I was his downtrodden servant. But the comments told a different story. Every time he scolded me for a typo, the air above him would read, **. Every time he made me work late, the text would say, **, it was a rainy Tuesday when the breaking point arrived. The board of directors had arrived for a surprise inspection. These weren't normal businessmen. They were ancient, withered men in suits that cost more than my life, surrounding the conference table like vultures. I stood by the wall, holding a tablet, recording the minutes. The acquisition of the nebulous tech sector is failing, Cashin, said Mr. Sterling, the head of the board. His voice sounded like dry leaves scraping together. You seem distracted lately. Cashin sat at the head of the table, perfectly poised. It is a temporary setback. The market is volatile. Is it the market? Sterling's eyes, milky and cruel, slid toward me. Or is it your new staffing choice? I hear you hired an ex-lover. A liability. The room went deathly silent. My heart hammered against my ribs. How did they know? Cashin didn't flinch. He slowly turned his pen in his fingers. Julian Vane is a competent employee who came cheap. I exploit assets, Sterling. I don't harbor sentiments. Is that so? Sterling smiled, revealing yellowed teeth. Then you won't mind if we reassign him. The chaotic branch in Hong Kong needs a manager. He leaves tonight. It wasn't a request. It was an exile. Hong Kong was where Blackwood employees went to disappear, permanently. I looked at Cashin. His face was a stone wall. He didn't look at me. If the board deems it necessary, Cashin said, his voice flat. I will not object. My stomach dropped. He was selling me out. After everything, he was just going to let them take me? But then the comments appeared, huge and red, flashing like emergency warnings. **, good, Sterling said. He gestured to 2 large guards standing by the door. Escort Mr. Vane to the airport. The guards moved toward me. Wait, Cashin said. It was a single word, but it carried the weight of a guillotine blade. Everyone froze. I said I wouldn't object if it was necessary. Cashin stood up slowly. He adjusted his cufflinks. But I find it unnecessary. Mr. Vane is currently working on the architectural drafts for the sprawling new headquarters. His insight is irreplaceable. We have other architects, Sterling snapped. None that I trust, Cashin said, his voice dropping an octave. He walked around the table, moving with the predatory grace of a panther. He stopped between me and the guards. He didn't touch me, but his presence was a shield, blocking me from their view. Are you defying the board, boy? Sterling hissed. I am the majority shareholder, Cashin said softly. I am the one who tripled your dividends last year. I am the one who keeps the federal investigators away from your doors. If I say he stays, he stays. The tension in the room was thick enough to choke on. This was it. The power struggle. Sterling stared at Cashin for a long, agonizing minute. Then, he let out a dry chuckle. Very well. But be warned, Cashin. Attachments are weaknesses. And we prune weaknesses. The board left. The heavy oak doors slammed shut. Cashin stood there, his back to me, his breathing heavy. You should have let me go, I said softly. He whipped around, his composure finally cracking. He grabbed me by the shoulders and slammed me, not painfully, but urgently, against the wall. Do you have any idea what they do to people in Hong Kong? He shouted, his voice raw. Do you think this is a game, Julian? I know it's not a game. I yelled back. I know you're protecting me. I know you still love me. Silence. Absolute, ringing silence. Cashin stared at me, his eyes wide, his chest heaving. What did you say? I said I know. I breathed, reaching up to touch the lapel of his suit. I know why you broke up with me. I know about the threats. I know you act cold to keep them from using me against you. You can't know that, he whispered, his invincible mask crumbling into confusion and vulnerability. I never told anyone. I couldn't tell him about the comments. I couldn't tell him that right now. Above his head, 1,000 imaginary people were screaming asterisk asterisk. I know because I know you, I said instead. I know the man who used to cry during sad movies. I know the man who wants to save everyone but himself. Cashin closed his eyes, leaning his forehead against mine. A shudder went through his powerful frame. I tried so hard, he murmured. I tried to make you hate me. It was the only way to keep you safe. You failed, I said. I never hated you. I just missed you. They'll come for you, he warned, his hands tightening on my arms. Sterling won't stop. Then let them come, I said fiercely. We beat them together. You and me. No more secrets. No more protecting me from the dark. Let me stand in it with you. Cashin pulled back slightly, searching my face. He looked at my lips, then my eyes. The conflict in him was dying, replaced by a hunger that had been starving for 3 years. Asterisk asterisk, God, I missed you, Cashin groaned. He crushed his mouth to mine. It wasn't a gentle kiss. It was desperate, bruising, a collision of 3 years of repressed longing and fear. He kissed me like he was drowning, and I was oxygen. I wrapped my arms around his neck, pulling him closer, tangling my fingers in the hair I had yearned to touch for 1,000 nights. He lifted me up, and I wrapped my legs around his waist, knocking a stack of files off the nearby credenza. We didn't care. He carried me to the desk, the same desk where he had tried to buy my dignity weeks ago, and sat me on the edge, moving between my legs, claiming his space, claiming me. I'm sorry, he murmured against my throat, biting softly at the pulse point. I'm so sorry, Julian. Shut up, I gasped, tilting my head back. Just, don't let go again. Never, he vowed, his voice dark and possessive. If the board touches you, I will burn this entire city to the ground. And as he kissed me again, deeper this time, full of promise and heat, I opened my eyes one last time to look at the air above us. The frantic scrolling had stopped. There was just one golden comet, glowing softly in the dim office light. Asterisk asterisk, I smiled against Cashin's lips and closed my eyes. I didn't need the comments anymore. I had the real thing. And that is how the viper tamed the wolf. If you enjoyed seeing Julian finally break through Cashin's icy defenses, destroy that like button. And tell me in the comments, would you forgive a lover who broke your heart just to save your life? I'll be reading your answers. Subscribe for the next chapter. Until then,